combining with the made-up evils and the false choices that they will generally put out. There's also the bizarre stereotyping. Pete Sepp goes on this very strange rant where we shouldn't be funding rail because rail is a myth, and we should fund buses. That's his way to sound liberal. That's all part of it. Trying not to sound like right-wing hacks and all this. So he then says, contrary to your assertion that the National Taxpayers Union has a clear agenda to attack any public investment, we freely acknowledge the value that infrastructure can add to the economy when such funds are properly spent. This is especially true of adding highway capacity, which can boost productivity and actually reduce emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, by keeping traffic moving instead of sitting. Oops, though, folks in your camp seem to hate cars, so I guess anything having to do with road building this plan would get a thumbs down from you, right? So, in this argument from Pete Sepp, highway capacity is great infrastructure. Everything that's not highway capacity is ridiculous. That this is the logic that conservatives bring to the debate, apparently. But number one, in the infrastructure proposal that my organization put out, Campaign for America's Future, we talked about spending over $100 billion on roads. We're not making the false choices that Pete Sepp thinks that we should be making. We can do roads and rail and bike paths and sidewalks and trails and clean water and healthcare and education. There's all sorts of things that we need to do to fix our nation's economy. That's why we're talking about such large numbers for this economic recovery plan. The economy is sinking fast. Fortuitously, there is a host of areas that we need to work on. And so the challenge, the solution meets the problem. But that's the way, this is the kind of stuff you can expect from the conservative movement going forward that we have to guard ourselves against. This is very tricky because they're throwing all this poo on the wall, and we get put in the tough position of how much do you defend this? I mean, do you want to have a hour-long discussion about the merits of an individual bike path? I'm pro bike path, but let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here. The bike paths are an extremely small portion of an $850 economic recovery plan, $850 billion recovery plan. This is about high-speed rail. This is about smart grids. This is about generating clean energy. This is about a massive road repair. It's about green buildings. Not to mention expanding children's health insurance. Not to mention clean water. Not to mention even the middle-class tax cuts going to be part of that number. There's all sorts of things going on here, and they want to find try to play up a couple of seemingly objectionable things, even though they're not really objectionable at all, and make that the argument. So we got to find a way to play some defense, but not prevent us from playing offense as well. And this speaks to, I think, a question I hear a lot about: what do I do now? What's my role now? What do I do to help this agenda along? You might have heard that a lot of Western Mass Obama supporters are going to think locally. I think it's extremely important, but we got to think nationally at the same time. We got to be part of that national discussion. We got to stay on offense. We need to put pressure on our media outlets to focus on the big priorities. What's the story on green energy? What's the story on high-speed rail? What's the story on healthcare? Put the focus on those problems. And at the same time, got to play some defense. Check out sites like Media Matters, for example. Check other blogs. Find the conservative misinformation. Find the information that debunks it, and get that to the media. Don't let what happened with the unions happen again, where there's 3 weeks of anti-union false propaganda, and it only gets corrected after the fact, after the lies have permeated the discourse. That's the kind of stuff that we have to do. This, again, I'll wrap it up here. This is Bill Sheriff of the LiberalOasis Radio Show. We'll be back next week for another edition. Great to have you on this holiday break. We'll talk to you on next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the LiberalOasis Radio Show. Have a great rest of the week.